welcome to Weekends with Whitney. Coming up on this morning show. 10 years ago, Hurricane Rita ravaged the Louisiana coast. It was a storm less talked about, but larger than Hurricane Katrina. An 18-foot storm surge swallowed much of our marshland and spit it out into the open Gulf waters. I'll show you innovative and experimental rebuilding efforts that are restoring our coast faster and saving Louisiana for generations to come. Plus, we train for the Olympics. Jack Bartle has been to the games so many times, it's hard to keep count. He'll show us what training it takes to bring home the gold, even in his 90s. And Dr. Nick tackles tenacity, how all of us can build on what we have to create even more. But first, part of sportsman's paradise is diminishing at an alarming rate. One football field an hour. This morning, I'm going to take you on a trip that's going to begin in Intercoastal City, a part that was ravaged by the hurricane, but also shows some of the most promising research and results to rebuild and recoup our Louisiana.
With a little love and some tenderness, we'll walk upon the wall.
These birds are a soaring sign of health, not just for the bird population. Their presence tells us our waters are healthy, plants are healthy, fish are healthy, and perhaps most importantly, that we're healthy. Audubon Louisiana Executive Director Doug Meffert.
Well, birds, just like humans, are top of the food chain. So when bird populations are healthy, chances are everything down that food chain, whether it's fish or insects in the habitat that we depend on, they're probably healthy too. So people need our birds and the birds need people.
Dedicated people like Doug, Karen Westfall, and Timmy Vincent are big reasons why birds still flock here, especially in these impressive numbers. 10 years ago, Hurricane Rita put this entire area of Vermilion Parish under 18 feet of water and carried much of it out to sea. Timmy saw it unfold. He manages and lives here at the 26,000-acre Paul J. Rainey Wildlife Sanctuary. He evacuated for Rita just in time.
You can see the watermarks on that picture. It blew every window, every door. We had 7 buildings here, and after Rita, we had 1 left.
They've spent the last decade rebuilding. This area is crucial to birds because 40% of migratory birds in North America spend part of their life cycle here in South Louisiana.
Places like this are one of the last places they can stop to forage and feed before they fly those hundreds of miles across the Gulf of Mexico and land in Central and South America.
To restore and preserve these wetlands, this is one way they're doing it. It's called terracing, but it's just the tip of the iceberg.
See these little checkers? And then you see these little squiggles? And then you see these little lines here and here. We're right here, by the way.
Okay.
This place, it's a living laboratory for all sorts of restoration projects, but for terracing in particular, we're using it to try these different terracing techniques and try different terracing shapes to see what might work best in different conditions.
It's been a huge success. When terraces are built, our wetlands start to thrive. Here's why. They're angled to keep out water from the Gulf. That salt water kills marsh grass. When we lose it, we lose a critical line of defense against hurricanes. Everything and everyone inland is at greater risk. Even water plants like these are important. Mallard ducks love to eat them. If ducks migrate to another place to find them, part of Louisiana flies away too.
Louisiana is a sportsman's paradise here, so bird populations, whether you look at them with a binocular or whether you hunt them, they're very critical for our natural habitat. So, one of our mottos is where birds thrive, people prosper.
Hundreds of square miles of our wetlands were lost after hurricanes Rita and Ike. Here's a map of this area before the storms. Now after. Even more alarming is without rebuilding, these holes will swallow the land. Everything on this map could be underwater in just 30 years. Louisiana's shoreline would continue its march north. Saltwater is deadly. Their efforts to keep it out are promising.
None of these canals are directly connected to the Gulf at all.
Well, which is good,
So,
right? Because it won't get it going up.
You don't want that salt water coming. In fact, that's why we're trying to protect all of these places to keep it from breaking into canals that come close, because we don't want that connection to the Gulf. And so when they've got that one right there, every little break, as that widens into that soft stuff and you get that flow coming into here, it sucks the sediment out.
Here's another success, dredging. Timmy and Karen started pumping sediment from the canal into this eroded area of the sanctuary in 2011. Look at the results just 3 years later. Here's another area of marsh, before and after. And look closely at this spot. The arrows point to trees in the back. Look at the growth now, 3 years later. It's also economical. It costs roughly $5,000 an acre to restore this marsh instead of hundreds of thousands. Karen says for private landowners, it's an affordable option to save their land.
Audubon uses their land a lot to explore ideas about what can be done to help the environment. We're not afraid to try things that sound like a good idea based on, I'm a coastal scientist, so based on your best guesstimate and your best ideas, we're willing to try things. And that way we can show other landowners of the state, other agencies, you know, look, it works here. It may not work somewhere else, but if it works here, our neighbor might be able to use it. So that's, you know, we're all about working in the region, helping our neighbors, and to help the health of the marsh and this ecosystem.
One such neighbor is famed family of Tabasco hot sauce, the McElhaney's. Now they work with, not against each other.
We're partnering with the McElhaney Enterprises, Sagrera Lands Vermilion Corporation to leverage our 26,000 acres into 180,000 contiguous acres of conservation. And by working together and not in competition, we've actually been able to raise $75 million in the past 4 years for coastal restorations.
Timmy says it's keeping everyone's dream alive, conservationists and hunters.
Mr. McElhaney's dream was to surround this area with refuges to have duck hunting in perpetuity.
Protect what we have, hold on to what we have, and rebuild what's been lost.
If you look overhead, you can see some of those birds migrating south now. But keep your eyes to the sky because more than 200 species will be flying by over the next few months. And still to come on Weekends with Whitney. Living life to the fullest. Why 92-year-old Jack Bartle is training for the Olympics and how he keeps going strong. And what does a man like Jack have that some of us might lack? Dr. Nick shows us how to keep the flame burning as Weekends with Whitney continues.
Maggio, the only way to go. Maggio Buick GMC, your satisfaction's our specialty. We really deliver on Falls River, here in New Roads. Small town atmosphere, legendary service for over 60 years. Maggio, the only way to go. The only way to go, that's Maggio.
Hi, I'm Drew Detlich, and welcome to Camp Bow Wow.
We are Baton Rouge's premier doggy day camp, daycare, and behavioral training facility. Spanning over 14,000 square feet, your dog has plenty of room to play. We have covered yards that'll protect your dog from the sun and rain. We have a state-of-the-art HD monitoring system so you can watch your dog throughout the day. And don't forget, we also offer luxury suites.
So, stop in for a tour today, schedule your interview, and get your first day free. This is Camp Bow Wow, where a dog can truly be a dog.
This segment brought to you by all of our friends at St. James Place. Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney. Drive, tenacity, endurance. 3 qualities that can separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Well, this morning, we're about to meet a man who is proof age is just a number and attitude is everything. look like a brisk walk on a beautiful day, but it's Olympic training for 92-year-old Jack Bartle. His walls and walls and walls of medals prove he's in it to win it. He competes in more than a dozen events. One of his best is race walking.
Well, just because I've kept on doing it, I guess. If you keep doing something, you know, you're bound to get better at it, you hope.
Yet he's a bit of a newcomer. He didn't start competing until he was almost 80.
It was coming here to St. James. The first year I was here, they were sponsoring one of the events and they wanted volunteers to help. So I went along to help and saw what people were doing, and I decided I could do it too. So I started from that point doing Senior Olympics work.
Since then, he's been to nationals 6 times, and 2 years ago, won a gold medal. For the next Olympics, he's training for shot put and discus. Where do you practice?
Oh, out back. I don't really need all that much space these days.
I asked Jack to show me how it's done. Impressive, but could he teach as well as he executes? And then did you go, wait.
Yeah, just rotate.
It's just rotate. There's no telling where it's going. Jack, I don't know if you're in the safe zone.
Oh, wait.
Try to grip it with your finger and thumb.
Okay.
Just.
I confess, it's harder than it looks.
Oh, slightly up at the end.
That's weird, because seems like I want to go that way. And there's a lot to remember.
Okay, no wonder it's hard. Oh,
Not bad.
that's pretty bad.
So Jack suggests maybe I'd be better at shot put. Jack has all the skills, and I think, yeah, I can do that. Maybe even outthrow Jack.
Stand a little bit further forward. There you go.
Okay. And then
No.
what did you do? You went down and
Yeah.
kind of like, and you
Oh, that's good.
oh, not as good as you.
I'm not making excuses, but that silver ball is heavier than it looks. Jack says it's certainly harder for him now than it used to be too, but his manners and his accent are as graceful as his attitude on aging.
It's good fun, and as long as you don't worry too much about it, you have to accept that you're slowly not doing quite as well as you used to, but you just do the best you can.
To get all this, he lifts weights twice a week, works out on a treadmill almost an hour every day, and every afternoon he swims a quarter mile.
And occasionally I work out on either an elliptical trainer or an exercise bike, just to make variety. You've got to keep doing different things. You can't do just the same thing over and over, because your body gets used to it. So you have to challenge it by doing other things from time to time.
Jack says while this certainly benefits his body, the Senior Olympics builds something even stronger.
You get to know people, and you meet up with them from time to time, and even at the national level.
You see them and you're saying goodbye, like, all right, let's hope we're all back next year, right?
Right. The social side of it is as important too, as well as the physical side, which of course is the same any activity that you're doing. It's important to relate to people and not just doing things.
Jack will be competing in just a few months, and I'm told he is a favorite to win. So go get him, Jack. And still to come on Weekends with Whitney, Dr. Nick on how we can all be a little more like Jack, where that kind of drive and lust for life is born in us, and how to keep the flame alive as Weekends with Whitney continues. How can you afford the best retirement ever? In 3 words, St. James Place. It's easier to plan for your future when you know what your future costs may be. The surprisingly affordable life care benefit at St. James Place provides for the quality amenities and services you want, as well as the assurance of help whenever you need it, all for one predictable monthly fee. Count on the best retirement ever at St. James Place and live life well. Atlas Foundation Repair. fixing your foundation problems for more than 30 years while preserving and protecting your trees. Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney. Well, we certainly live in a youthful, glamorized society, which makes a lot of us fearful of getting older. And yet we see shining examples of people who are doing it so well. But nonetheless, a lot of us have a lot of fears about it. Dr. Nick joins us this morning with that and more. Good morning.
Good morning, Whitney. And thank you for tackling a topic that is of real fascination to me. I don't know if I'm old in terms of an old soul or what, but I'm fascinated with the elders. Oh. And I call them the elders. I used to love to go to see Daddy in the assisted living home, to see him, but also to hang around with all those wonderful people that were living there.
Oh, they're so fascinating.
Fascinating stories.
Yeah. And sometimes they get lonely. I think I'm a little afraid of that sometimes in my life. I'm living in a community. I lived in the sorority house when I was in college. I'm going back to that kind of living in my in my older age. I am.
Well, you know, it raises again a kind of a question of the society has changed so much. We're not the Waltons anymore, and yet assisted living and living in community and all these nursing homes they can be very, very powerful experiences of life because we need to be with each other. But the problem with aging is that, remember, you're commiserating. You don't have a lot of youthful energy in those places.
True.
And so that makes the tendency and the propensity to complain and whine and feel connected in a disconnected way. The fears that they all have in these places.
Sure,
and the depression.
Why isn't she calling me? My son didn't call me. My daughter didn't call me. You know, a lot of people didn't remember my birthday. I've seen that happen in a lot of people, and I can understand it. But that community helps.
It helps, but I think I would love to see us all, and I'm no magic wand. I wish that there were a way we could do it better. Better in the sense that we could really get people to be more vulnerable as we age. And not be afraid to talk about the fear of losing my hearing.
You've done some of that.
There are many people that can't hear as they get older, and it's so frustrating.
I know.
And you think you're the only one. I've had experiences in groups with people who someone would be just furious about the fact that he doesn't like to be with people because he feels like he's always got to ask them to repeat. And the people in the group looked at him and said, "You're the only one with the problem. Most of us can't hear."
You're in good company.
Well, you know, and then someone said, "Yeah, well, I'm glad to know that because I always found you to be abrupt." And it was like, no, I don't mean to be abrupt. Aging, it's hard.
But either maybe he's angry about it and that's just coming out, or maybe he doesn't think people can hear him because his hearing, and so he overmodulates. Sounds angry.
And sounds angry, absolutely. And then what about the aging process where you lose your wife to Alzheimer's and you watch her die?
Right.
And what about the aging process where, and let's be honest, the assisted living and nursing home, I do think for the most part they're caring people, but they're not perfect. And how do we live with the frustration of the limitations of care when we think our wife ought to be getting more?
Sure. Better nursing, better care. Oh, well, you have to have an advocate. We talked about that.
We do look at that, but we also, I think it's also, again, in the kind of setting that I'm working with some elders, is we're helping each other to look at options. Instead of maybe going to check on her every day at a certain time, go different times of the day to check to see how she's doing.
Sure.
But it was more of just trying to encourage him not to become so obsessed with the fact that his wife is dying.
Yeah, which is tragic.
Of course it is, Whitney. But those 80-year-olds are also life.
Oh, look, Jack, he's got shuffleboard, he's swimming, he's working out on the treadmill, he's got bridge games. I could hardly fit in an interview. I had to schedule.
Isn't that exciting?
A week out.
Isn't that exciting?
And he had to cancel some things to fit me in.
And what did you take away from that? Because you had the experience. I know you told me how wonderful it was.
It was, and Jack can't hear very well, and so, but he said it, which was lovely. He said,
there you go.
You're going to think I might be ignoring you. I just don't hear well. So if you ask me something and I don't respond, please louder or say it again or make sure I'm looking at you.
Well, that's a good learning experience.
It was.
Because then you were able to deal with it better.
And I love that he loves sports. I mean, you know, because there's a little competitor in all of us. And I just love that, you know, even at 80 and 90 years old, they're out there. I mean, he told me that there was a guy at the Senior Olympics last year who beat him, who was 101. And Jack said, the guy died 2 months later, and that's how I want to go out too.
Interesting. And a wonderful story of always playing with those who we think might be better because they're pulling us. Because he was better. At 101, he was better.
Absolutely.
Better in the sense of how do you do it at 101?
And he could throw it further. He had the strength. But isn't that great? I like that. I think there's a lot for all of us to learn in aging and people like Jack.
There is. And if I may just go back to one of my familiar themes that I like to always talk about with people, I don't want to ever retire. I may stop one career, but God save me from not having some passion to get up for every morning. Look at Jack. Look at the people that have wills to live and purpose. If it's only playing bridge all day, or, you know, doing their puzzles, or making calls, or learning the computer.
Sure. Or
Really,
Daisy's
Whitney,
painting.
Don't you feel that in yourself?
Of course.
People look at me like, you don't want to retire? I'm like, what do you mean retire? Retire sounds so dead to me. Changing life, maybe, adding skills. But then Jack's probably doing a lot of what he already was doing, just doing more of it.
Oh, yeah. In his 90s, driving to Austin, Texas. Really. He will just get in the car and keep on driving. And, well, I mean, it's not like somebody's trying to take away his keys. But he's an exception. I'm going to say that there are not a lot of people in his age bracket who can do that.
He's an exception. And I think that's where we have to be very conscious of allowing people to do their best. And their best may not be what it was 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago.
Sure.
When I'm sick, Whitney, I'm not my best.
I know.
You know that.
And doesn't
when you're
it make
not
you feel
feeling
old?
good. Of course it does.
It makes me feel old.
Of course it does. But then I'm aware that the body is not what it's not in its 20s anymore.
It may take 4 rounds of antibiotics. We're both tired of his rounds of antibiotics. I'm sorry that you don't feel better.
I do think that wisdom comes, though. I would love to sit with Jack. I bet there's a wisdom that is just phenomenal.
Absolutely, yes. There is. And he doesn't have to be my grandfather for him to share it and for me to receive it. And that's a beautiful thing.
A very beautiful thing.
So, and there are a lot of nursing homes and a lot of places in people's communities that people would love to see someone. Maybe their family lives far away. You know, wouldn't that be great?
Sure.
To go out and almost adopt someone in a nursing home.
Sure. Well, I'm working with someone, and I won't say the language, but I'm working with someone who wants to get better English. And I said, I'm going to cut a deal with you. I'm going to take you to this nursing home that I'm working with, and you're going to teach Russian to whoever wants to learn it. And I think she's already got 3 or 4 people that want to learn Russian. She's thrilled because she gets to teach Russian, but somebody in the nursing home is going to teach her English better.
What a great. And again, that's never giving up a passion. That's always wanting to learn something new and being able to, Nikki. I mean, you know, God help us to have our minds.
God help us. Well, you know, we're going to be doing this show in Hawaii in 40 years.
Okay.
I'm going to be 100.
I'm going to be 110.
But why not?
Right.
Why not think it?
Right.
Why not think it? Wouldn't that sound fun?
It
We're
does
in Hawaii on a beach and showing clips from when we were.
All I know is you're going to the nursing home with me. So live long, my friend. Live long, because we're going to have a whole wing. It's going to be like the sorority house.
Let's make sure it's near a beach.
We can do that.
Okay.
I'll be the cocktail waitress.
I'll be the bartender.
Stay with us. Much more Weekends with Whitney right after this.
Go Roof is proud to serve the Baton Rouge and surrounding areas with our years of experience and quality service. We want more than just your roofing needs. Go Roof cares about the client and wants you to be our customer for life. Roof replacement, repair, vents, and more. Go Roof will get it done. We have excellent standing relationships with all the top insurance companies, so making your claim is fast and easy. A beautiful roof every single time at Go Roof. Call now for a free estimate.
Maggio, the only way to go. Maggio Buick GMC, your satisfaction's our specialty. We really deliver on Falls River, here in New Roads. Small town atmosphere, legendary service for over 60 years. Maggio, the only way to go. The only way to go, that's Maggio.
Thanks for spending part of your Sunday here with us on Weekends with Whitney. Be sure to tune in next week as we celebrate our 1-year anniversary of Weekends with Whitney. 52 shows. We'll take you back through our first year of triumphs and tribulations, our favorite stories, some behind-the-scene footage we never thought we'd show you, and an inside look into what it really takes to make this TV show happen.
And it was half, and then it went, darn it.
That story and many more, 8 a.m. next Sunday, right here on Channel 2. Well, our airboat ride last week in Vermilion Parish was a huge thrill. If you've done it, you know. And if you haven't, well, I wanted to give you an experience as close as I could to that. So as we leave you this morning, we hit the airboat and those coastal waters. Have a great week ahead. Enjoy the ride.
Great driving! Woo!